We didn't really deserve it. We needed something special. Tyler Goodrham, say no more. Hello everybody, it's Ian here once again from OUFC Fan View, and it's time to do another review of another Oxford United game. Today, Oxford were at home to the Lions. They were at home to Millwall. After a tough week for the Yellows with those defeats to Middlesbrough and Sheffield United, which were quite humbling, let's be fair, we had this one circled as, I don't know what we had it circled as. Some would have it as must win. I think a lot of people had it down as an important game, but they certainly knew that it wouldn't be easy. Because Neil Harris's side are doing excellently in the Championship. They're very competitive, very street smart, and they know how to win games. And, let's be fair, they should have won this game. Millwall will be scratching their heads as to how they let this one slip, because Oxford at times looked quite bereft of ideas, quite bereft of inspiration, and we needed something quite special to get back into the game. It finished. Oxford United won. Millwall won. We'll break down the game like I usually do. I'll go over the team news, I'll give my review of the game, highlighting the key points, and then I'll give my final thoughts for both sides at the end of the video. If you want to jump to the end and just see my final thoughts, that's absolutely fine. You can use the timestamps that are down below, but I encourage you to watch the whole video. But either way, please hit that like button because that helps me out a heck of a lot. And if you do like the content on the channel, consider subscribing. Let's have a look at this Oxford United team news then, and we all knew this was going to happen. Elliot Moore comes straight back into the side after his suspension against Sheffield United, but Sam Long also keeps his place in there too, and he moves to right back. Matty Phillips starting on the right wing, and it was father-to-be Tyler Goodrham moved into the middle. It meant Hide Terravest and Ruben Rodriguez were the ones to drop out of the side. There's still no Peter Kioso on the bench after his illness, which is a little bit frustrating. Maybe they're just being extra cautious, and hopefully he'll be back for that Plymouth game. But I did like the look of this Oxford United lineup, and I was just hoping that they would have some attacking punch. Let's have a look at the visitors then, and as I said at the start of the video, Neil Harris's Lions have been superb so far this season, and they started the day in 9th place. Been a bit of a strange week for Millwall though. They did have that game called off against Portsmouth in midweek because of floodlight failure, so I guess they'll be pretty fresh going into this one. But they do have to deal without their top goal scorer, Duncan Watmore, still not in the match day squad. However, the Lions have not lost for 8 games, and they've got one of the meanest defences in the league. Their skipper, Sean Hutchinson, comes back into the back line to marshal the troops back there. But when you've got the likes of Femi Aziz, Romain Esse and George Honeyman, they've certainly got more than enough quality to trouble the U's this afternoon. So let's move on to the game then, and I was nervous before this game. It wasn't a great game, let's just say that outright, but I was very nervous before this game, and you could kind of sense that those nerves throughout the whole of the Kassam Stadium, really. But there was an early booking for Millwall's Tanganga in this game. After just 2 minutes, in fact. Dane Scarlett kind of turned him. It might have meant Scarlett was through on goal, and Tanganga had to bring him down. And from that free kick, Goodrham floated it in, and Elliot Moore got his head on it, and it was a good flicked header by Moore, and only just went wide. But that was really one of the very few chances Oxford created in this first half, and you have to say Millwall were the more dangerous of the two sides. Very aggressive side, the way they chase and harry and win the ball back, and they certainly waste no time getting the ball into the box. But the next big chance of the game once again did fall to Oxford. It had been all Millwall really up until this 18th minute, but it was Oxford who created the best chance of the game. It was from a mistake really. Brian for Millwall playing a slack ball across the middle under a bit of pressure from Plaheta, and it meant Goodrham was able to win the ball and drive at the heart of that Millwall defence. Plaheta didn't really help Goodrham with his run because he was well offside. It meant Goodrham had to go alone, but he got to the edge of the box, chanced his arm. It was a good strike from Tyler Goodrham, and I've got to say Jensen made a good save to tip it over the bar. That was really Oxford's last chance of the first half, and it was really the Lions who just stamped their control on the rest of the game. It was a decent chance for Millwall on 33 minutes, this time coming from Oxford being poor in possession in their own half. Plaheta just being very slack, and it allowed Leonard to get down the wing on the left-hand side. A wicked cross from him, and I see he should have done better really. He got to the ball, but he just completely miskicked it. And you really did feel the Lions were in control, but they were struggling to work Jamie Cumming. But they were still a threat from set pieces as well. And this one went largely unnoticed on 39 minutes. But Brian hit the post directly from a corner. It looked like he went for it as well. He saw that Cumming wasn't really paying attention to it, and he went for it. And Oxford, it really could have caught Oxford out there. It was a good effort. And Cumming and the Oxford backline nearly left with egg on their face. But you sense that Oxford really needed half-time, though, because the more and more it went on, the more and more like Aziz and Essay started to pull the strings with Millwall coming forward. And that corner count was ever mounting. And just before half-time, Millwall made it count. You knew it was coming, and it's the first time Oxford have conceded a goal from a corner this season. It's driven to the back post. Tanganga got free from Matt Phillips and headed past Jamie Cumming. There might have been a foul on Jamie Cumming by Aziz, but it wasn't given, and Millwall get a deserved lead, and that looked like it was going to be disaster for Oxford United, because one thing in this championship season, you don't go behind to Millwall. So at half-time, it was 1-0 to Millwall, and it felt so flat and so deflating from an Oxford United point of view. Millwall deserved to be in the lead in this game. And Oxford, you just really didn't see how they were going to get back into it. One, through their own play was so poor, but two, because you know how good Millwall are at seeing out games when they're in the lead. It just comes down to Millwall just being more brave, more aggressive than Oxford in this first half. And the more and more it went on, the more and more they started to get into their passing groove and pass it around United as well. Other than that one chance for Goodrham, which really came from a Millwall mistake, Oxford have looked pretty poor going forward. And it just looked really lightweight and just bereft of confidence and out of ideas. Something needs to change, or this was going to be a win for Millwall. Buckingham did make changes throughout the second half. It started with a half-time change with El Mazouni coming on for Volks. I thought that was a good change, actually. I would have taken Brannigan off, but it actually pushed Brannigan back into that holding role, and he was much better in that second half. And Oxford did pass the ball around with more purpose in this second half, and you saw that almost straight away, really. But they were very much struggling to break this Millwall side down. You felt it was still very easy for Millwall to defend Oxford United attacks, and they looked quite threatening on the break themselves. 51 minutes on the clock, and it was a good counter-attack by Millwall, and Greg Lee had to make a vital intervention, or it would have certainly been a second goal. But this second half really drifted along. Millwall seemed very comfortable just to let Oxford have the ball. Oxford were trying at least to be a bit better on the ball than what they were in the first half, and it was better, but it certainly wasn't creating any chances whatsoever. 30 minutes to go, you saw Harrison Rodriguez come on for Plaheta and Scarlett. A few boos with Will Scarlett coming off. Dane Scarlett coming off. There you go. And I understand that. I don't know why you wouldn't just go for two up top. You did see Matty Phillips getting more into the game, though, with about 25 minutes to go, but there just seemed a reluctance from Phillip to whether he's still just not confident in himself, his own body, his own fitness, but there was a reluctance from Phillip to want to get down the line and beat his man, even though he had his defender on a yellow card, which was a little bit frustrating. And eventually he came off, and with 10 minutes to go, Oxford rolled the dice once again, and Owen Dale, who came on earlier on for Phillips, and Will Goodwin came on for Greg Lee. Time was ticking down, though, and you were just curious whether we could stretch this Millwall side. But with 5 minutes to go, that inspiration came. To be fair to Oxford United, we did have a decent spell of possession before this goal went in from Tyler Goodrham, and we actually looked like we were stretching Millwall, winning second balls in midfield for the first time today and actually pushing the Lions back. And as I said, decent spell of possession. Owen Dale fed a very intelligent ball through to Cam Brannigan in the middle. Brannigan was able then to get in midfield and pick out Tyler Goodrham on the edge of the box. Millwall gave him the space to take a touch, and that's all Tyler Goodrham needed, because you know what Tyler Goodrham can do. He smashes it into the top corner of the goal. It needed something special, and finally that special moment came, and Oxford were level in the game, and Oxford all of a sudden came alive then, and you felt that they might get a winning goal, and they started to pass the ball around with so much more confidence, and it looked like we might be able to get in behind Millwall. A good move again, nearly worked an opening for Rodriguez, but Millwall closed the door on that one. Couple of corners at the end of the game for the Lions that Oxford had to deal with, and they saw them out, and in the end we had to be happy with a point. Some people would have wanted a win before this game, but I tell you what, that point might be vital. It certainly wasn't deserved, but my goodness, and I've said this a few times before, we'll bloody well take it. And that takes me on to my final thoughts. And let's start with the visitors in Millwall. And look, Millwall fans, you must be absolutely kicking yourselves, as I said early on in the video, that how you didn't win this game. You were very comfortable. And it was almost like the perfect game plan for Neil Harris once again. It's certainly a side that looks like they are fully on board with the tactics that Neil Harris has got them to play. Because the start of the game, yes, the game was a bit bitty, a bit scrappy, and Millwall were the aggressors. They were very, very aggressive against Oxford United, winning the ball back, not letting Oxford United play at all. And once they got a feel into the game, they started to play football themselves. It looked like a perfect game plan, actually, and then when you got that goal and you went 1-0 ahead, it looked like it was pretty much executed to perfection, but just maybe sat back a little bit too much in the second half. Maybe you could have been bolder to try and get that second goal to kill the game off, and really it needed something amazing from Oxford to get an equaliser, and thankfully from our point of view that certainly came. But you'll be disappointed, I know, you'll see that as 2 points drop. Very impressed with the organisation and the spirit and the determination of the Millwall players. But I think overall the word aggression just comes to mind when I do think of this Millwall side. You were so aggressive in the tackles. You won so many second balls right up until probably the last 10 minutes of the game. You seemed to be first onto every loose ball that came around. Look, a threat from set pieces as well. And you've got those bits of quality up front with the likes of Aziz and the likes of Essay and Honeyman. And you certainly can see why you're up there this season and why you are a very difficult side to beat. So an exciting season for you Lions ahead. I'd be interested to know your thoughts of whether you think that you're punching above your weight, whether this is sustainable, whether you can carry on with these narrow wins that you're getting, not saying that you don't deserve them, or whether you are going to have a little bit of a drop-off, you're going to fall more towards mid-table, or whether you're going to carry on and challenge those playoffs, and what you maybe need to bring in January to strengthen that claim. But very impressed with Millwall. Very, very, very difficult side to play against. Certainly presented a different challenge from most other side that we've played against this season. And I wish you guys nothing but luck for the rest of the season, and please leave your thoughts down below. And that brings me on to Oxford United, and look, let's start with the main man. Let's start with the star boy. Let's start with Tyler Goodrham, because my goodness, what a goal that was to rescue what could be an extremely vital point as we enter into an extremely critical December. And that one's also for my brother, who was being critical of Tyler Goodrham in the week, saying he doesn't think he deserves his place in the side. Well, there you go, Andy. That's a goal just for you. And really, I think from all Oxford United fans, we wish him good luck with the birth of his first child. Hope everything goes smoothly in that regard. Hope that goal is the second by a distance the most special thing that happens to him this week. But what a talent, what a player. How many goals now has Tyler Goodrham scored? Not only are they special goals, but how many important goals has he scored to either get us points, win us points, get us back into games? He rarely scores like an uneventful goal. And my goodness, what a exciting talent he has been. He's not necessarily been at his best for the last few games, but he remains a vital part of this Oxford United side. One other positive I'm going to say once again is defensively Oxford were strong too. The decision of Des Buckingham to put Sam Long in the side, you got to applaud Buckingham for that one. That was exactly the right decision. Sam Long, what a blooming hero. Pretty much might have broke or dislocated his fingers in the first few minutes of the game, then takes a horrible head injury at the end of the game. But he epitomises the spirit of this Oxford United side, and he's never going to give you anything other than 100% Longy, and he had a great game. But Oxford did defend that threat from Millwall pretty well throughout the game today. Not too many saves for Jamie coming to men. It was a difficult task for a bombardment of balls into the box, but I thought for the large part Oxford did do quite well in that regard. A little bit disappointed with the goal we conceded. I thought it was Matt Phillips kind of switching off, and then again from another corner Oxford could have conceded from that one. But overall, the defensive side of things, even though we're not keeping clean sheets, I would still say there is a desire that was still there from the back end of last season of Oxford United to keep that ball out of the net, and that is important that stays intact all the way through the season. But once again, back to the first half, I'm so disappointed with Oxford United on the ball through midfield or in wide areas. We just don't seem to be able to take control of a game, or haven't been able to do so in recent weeks at all. It's like the midfield and the forward players are just almost scared to make those runs, to get on the ball, to try and get the ball in difficult areas, or to try and make something happen. It just forces us to play very slow, very predictable, and very long, and just basically giving the ball back to Millwall time and time again. But it's not the first time that we've done that. But it was just very disappointing. I felt there was an opportunity today for Oxford to be brave on the ball and try and get Placheta and Phillips into the game. And I did think Placheta tried his hardest. He was up against a good defender today, and he didn't really get much change out of him. But I was a little disappointed in Matt Phillips, I must say. There was a reluctance for Phillips to drive the game forward and get down the wing. When he did get the ball in difficult areas, he was quite often stop and go back. And I wonder why that is the case. It might be that he's not quite fully fit, and he's not comfortable or not trusting his body yet. And that's what we want to see Phillips doing, driving down the wing, causing problems and getting those quality crosses into the box that we know he can do. And if Phillips isn't gonna be doing that down the wing, then does he deserve his place in the side, or should he play more centrally and play Tyler Goodrham out wide? I know they did switch a little bit, but overall, in the second half, Phillips did get more into the game, but I don't think he did enough to really drive Oxford United forward, and I actually thought we looked better when he came off. And with the changes that came, I feel it came too late, but obviously better late than never. I don't know why Oxford aren't throwing Will Goodwin into this sort of game with about 20-25 minutes to go. In fact, he would have been a better choice than Harris, really, as the first cab off the rank. And why you wouldn't just go two strikers a little bit earlier to try and get yourself back into it. Because I thought we looked quite good for those moments when Goodwin came on. We started to ask Millwall a few more questions. They looked a little bit more stretched and a little bit unsure of themselves. And also, Owen Dale, I thought he played quite well when he came on against Sheffield United. I thought he played quite well in the game today when he came on. He's not the quality of like a Dembele or maybe a Phillips or something like that. But what he is, and they said it on commentary, he's a pest. He's a nuisance, and he won't stop running and he won't stop crying. And Oxford needed a bit of that today. They needed a bit of the ugly side of the game, and I thought Dale brought that in today. He was a bit of a, pushing the Millwall players. I know he gave away a few silly fouls, but I feel all in all like his kind of energy levels raised the team a little bit, and I do think he played an important part in the equalising goal. I also thought Idris El Massouni played quite well as well. He came into the game a bit more as the game got late into the second half, but that's what I want to see from El Massouni, running beyond the wingers, trying to get into the box, trying to pick up the ball and drive through the middle. We need so much more of that. Maybe we might need to start seeing Brannigan in that holding role. Maybe against Plymouth it might be worth taking Volks out of the side and having Brannigan in that midfield alongside El Massouni and Rodriguez, or El Massouni and Goodrham. Once again, maybe that is the best way to go. And then if we're winning the game or we need to see out a game, you can bring the likes of Will Volks on later. I'm feeling that might be the best sort of combination. It might just gives us a bit more energy in that midfield, which was severely lacking in that first half. And I think above all else, I just hope that gives the side a little bit of confidence. If it's not a defeat, we've snatched another draw, a draw where it didn't look likely, so the fans get that little bit to cheer about. It's not a losing feeling. It's not a losing week heading into this big game away at Plymouth next weekend. And the players can have a little bit of a rest now, and hopefully that gives them a little bit of confidence to go and attack this Plymouth game, who are a good side at home. But I'll tell you, it's a side who we can beat. We should be able to go and put in a good performance against them. And it's amazing how your mood changes, doesn't it? This would have been a vastly different video if Tyler Goodrham would not have smashed that ball into the top corner. I would have been talking about Oxford's lack of quality and Oxford's lack of ability to compete at this level. But that goal just changes the mood a little bit and gives you a little bit of spirit. But those worries are still there. Don't you worry about that, because there's virtually every game we seem to be under the cosh and weathering huge amounts of pressure. And it's just whether we can stay in a game late enough to kind of have a late surge, which seems to be the way of things at late. But we're hanging in there, Oxford fans. We're hanging on in there, and it's not a defeat, and it's a wonderful goal to take away from this game. So let me know your thoughts down below. Look,
I've been terrible with replying to comments, even more than normal. And I'm so sorry that I haven't got to comments from the Sheffield United game or the predictions videos. I will get to them at some point next week. They'll probably be meaningless by the time I do get to them because a lot of water's passed under the bridge. But I do appreciate them and I will respond. Just, I'm being a bit lazy with them of late. It's probably these defeats. There's an excuse. It's probably these defeats. So it doesn't make me want to open up the comments too often. But thank you very much for the continued support on these videos. Please continue to share them out or like them. It does help the video a lot get out to more people, so I really do appreciate that. And yeah, if you do like the content, subscribe as well as we march, try and get towards 2,000 subs. That would be awesome if I can do that by the end of the year. So thank you once again. Come on, you yellows. A point is never a defeat. And we move on to Plymouth. Thank goodness for Tyler Goodrham.